Welcome back, guys. My name is Chris Patrick, and today I hope you guys are excited as I am for the upcoming build. We are going to build ourselves a 13.5 street stock drag car. So let's get you guys a little bit closer, go over this wonderful heap of parts, and figure out exactly what that is that's sitting on top of that body. And we're going to go over all this stuff. So stay tuned, guys, and let's start building. Now that we got you closer to the workbench, let's talk about what we've got going on in front of you. But we're going to start by talking about the class specifically. I have done a ton of research on drag racing, or no prep drag racing to be specific. A lot of people have jumped into the DR10 world or the Traxxas Slash and has converted those to become really common drag race vehicles, and the aftermarket world supports them hands down over the DR10. It's just, if you do a research, just for example, a set of Willy Bars. If you try to find a set of Willy Bars for a DR10, you may find a handful, I'm going to say 3, 4, 5 different options. But if you go and look for a Traxxas Slash, you're going to find probably 30, 40, maybe 50 different types and different manufacturers of Willy Bars that are out there for your specific vehicle. So I wanted a DR10. And obviously, you guys know me well enough by now that I run pretty much associated vehicles, and that's pretty much it because that's what I grew up around. So I have a fond fascination with associated. So that's my history with that. So I started digging into it, and I'm like, well, I could go with the DR10, spend $350 or whatever it is, shipped to my door, taxes, all that fun stuff, and have a ready-to-run, no prep drag car that I'm just going to get my ass handed to because I'm going to spend $350. So then that means I'm going to have to yank out the speed controller, yank out the motor, and put something bigger in it to go faster. So that was kind of a waste. So this project has been going on probably for, I'm going to go with 2.5, 3 months now. I've slowly acquired some parts and some pieces and just kind of went along with it, and things have changed since then. So I'm going to start with this. Some of you may have already figured out what this is, and some of you may not have any clue what this is. But this is a RC10, so an associated short course 10. I believe it's the version 1, so just the regular short course 10. So my goal was to spend basically $300 and see how fast I can go. This was before the 13.5 street stock class had came around. I had started this build process way before then, and to give you proof of that, just to give you an idea of the motor, you see that's a 10.5 spec motor. So I'm going to get into this in a minute. So with the chassis, I chose to go with a short course 10 for a multitude of reasons. Associated, cheap. That's pretty much the two requirements, because I don't really care about handling concepts of steering left and right and all that fun stuff. I just know it needed to be, and short course, because it has to be short course wheelbase, it has to be short course based chassis. So this is an associated short course 10. I paid $90 shipping to my door, and it came with a set of pretty beat up and almost useless Proline primes. So they're pretty much slicks. So I'm going to keep this out just so you guys have an idea of what's going on with tires here in a minute. But I was okay with the price because $90, I can't go wrong. It's missing a lot of pieces that's kind of key. So, for example, missing a shock post, so I had to find that. That was probably one of the hardest pieces to find for this particular vehicle, and a rear shock tower. So, let me kind of bring this back in circle. So, I'm going to move this to side. So, at my local racetrack, we have been talking about making a spec class for quite some time for drag racing, because it's going to be a winter thing. It's indoors on concrete. Kurt was talking about creating a basically run what you brung, I don't give a crap, no rules, and just run it. And his mentality of things was bodies. A true drag car doesn't have a cut like a street car, like a no prep car is not going to have a rear bumper, like a whole back end of a car cut out. So he was trying to come up with an idea of making a bumper car. So what you call bumper car is a body that has a front and a rear bumper to it, so no cutouts, no massiveness wings on the back end or nothing like stupid godly crazy. And the idea was to run a 10.5 motor with a Blinky ESC. Make it kind of simple. It's kind of like the poor man's version of street racing, which... Okay, fantastic. So, I'm thinking Blinky ESC and a 10.5. Obviously, the 10BL 120, which is 120 amps by Hobbywing, is a fantastic ESC. If you're looking for something that's kind of economical, but it's going to give you the amperage that you really need. And some people will tune, like the higher end speed controllers. My traction control is going to be my finger, so that's why I went with this. And then the motor I picked up locally. It's a Trinity Punisher 10.5 motor. So this is what I was originally going to run with this particular unit. And then the street stock rules came out, which is going to be 13.5. So this is probably going to get swapped out for a 13.5. I just don't know when. I'm still looking for one. It's going to be a Trinity motor because I'm a huge Trinity fan. So let's talk about what we have to do to make this work. And so, to make this work, and I could have this wrong, but this is where my research kind of skewed and got very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very muddy very quick. So either I had to buy B4s or B5 Buggy Arms front and rear. So what you're trying to do, let me bring this back over. You're trying to narrow the path, the track width of your hubs in to get your tires to fit up and underneath your body, because you want your body to cover your wheels. So everybody's taking Buggy Arms and putting them on the front and the rear of your chassis to narrow that down. So I went with B5 Buggy Arms front and rear. Again, I don't know if these will fit the short course 10 or not. I believe they will. I might have to modify them slightly. I'll figure that part out. So that is part number 91412 for the rear, and the front arms is 91526. So that's the front, and that's the rear arms. So then, if you're changing your arms, you have to change your turnbuckles. So that's where these come into play. So you need part number 6263, which is 2.06, and it's actually the same, 6263. It's three of them, just different stock. You can see came from two different vendors. One vendor had one vendor had two. And then you have to change your CV axle length to be shorter, which is 91439. So that's what pretty much all you need to narrow your width down to make it fit underneath your body. So that's what all of this is. So then the next question is, we had come into this realm of, we didn't really talk about Willy Bars, so again, it's kind of hard to understand without seeing it. Let me move this stuff here real quick. So the back end of every buggy just about pushes up against your shock towers. And it's going to flex on the back end of this. So if you add a ginormous Willy Bar to the back end of it, like that, and then a Willy Bar on the back end of this, which you may or may not be able to see this. So if you get this Willy Bar back here, and you go to launch, it's going to hammer that Willy Bar, and then you're going to get this flex. So what you need to do is look for an aluminum shock tower, and I hope the concept is going to make sense. But you're going to make basically, from your mounts, you're going to run bars up through the front and actually secure them to your shock towers. What you're trying to do is you're trying to triangulate all of the power that's in the back end of this, because this car is going to want to flex and twist, and you're trying to take all of that out of it to get all of the power to the ground. Now, that's where the curveball to all this comes into play. Well, this and this, so the Willy Bars and the bar mount, so to give you an idea, this is what it looks like. All of that was designed by myself. I do not own a 3D printer yet, so this is something that I have designed. And then Traxxas sells some rubber wheels that are really, really nice with some bearings. That is going to mount back here at the back, just like so, on these bars. Again, this was designed before the 13.5 class came around, so these will not be used for the 13.5 street stock class, but I'm going to use them probably with the 10.5, or if I decide to ramp this up. I also understand that this will break if I hit it hard enough, so this is mainly a prototype to get me length, widths, and dimensions to figure out what I like, what I don't like, what's going to work, what's not going to work, and that way I can go from there to figure out, okay, I'm going to hand this to my brother. He's a CNC machinist, so he will make sure that I have a full bar that's out of aluminum. Then I can run some bolts through it in the same spots to give it the triangular strength that it needs to hold it together. So this is kind of a trial and error, but this is a 3D mount that mounts to the back of the buggy. This is the mount that mounts to the bars. And again, like I said, I designed these by hand using some free programs online. I'm pretty pleased with how well they came out, and I think they look fantastic. I'm kind of anxious to see how that works personally. So I know I can't use it on the street stock, but I wanted to show you guys why this process has taken so long. So that is the Willy Bars, and that's where this aluminum shock tower is going to come into play. I'm still probably going to use this even on the street stock version because I'm still wanting to make that back end as strong as possible. So, and this is the short course 10B, which is the buggy version, but I believe it's going to fit. I'll find out. So now let's talk about some tuning stuff. Actually, we'll save tuning for a minute. I needed some more electronics, so I needed a steering servo, and I needed a receiver for my radio. So I have a Sanwa radio, and I decided to go with the wonderful eBay special, Amazon. I think it was like $35. It's an ARX 28-2R 4-channel receiver, $35 I think, which is a lot cheaper than buying the OEM Sanwas. So that's what that is. And then I believe this was like a $24 radio or steering servo, 20 kV or kg, sorry, for your strength. It's more than enough for a drag car, and it includes a aluminum. It includes an aluminum horn, which I liked. So I don't know if it's going to fit, maybe a little too long. I'll find that out when I go to build the front end. So that's that. It's got the plastic ones if I decide to go that route. And honestly, it's a drag car. I don't need to turn that much, but Okay, sure. That's why I went cheap. Again, budget build. So I needed some stainless steel hardware. These are M3, so 3mm screws in really long lengths. And these were mainly purchased to go through all of this housing. And I needed, I think, like 40 or 50 millimeters. So I needed one of these longer ones to fit through here to make all that work. So that is 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60 millimeter stainless steel screws. That came off of Amazon for, I don't know, $10. You can never not have enough screws. Some turnbuckle caps. And that's going to be to make custom length to help strengthen that rear end. So it's going to go from this mount, and I may still run this mount without actually the bars, and this is going to use, how do I want to word this? They're Heim joints, and you connect them to here, and then you're going to run your existing turnbuckle arms and mount them into your A-arm. I hope that makes sense. It's all about strengthening the rear end. So that's what this is. And these are SSD-RCs, which are M3 long plastic rod ends. And it's SSD00017. I think these are $5. What else we got here? I needed some steering servo post mounts. Again, the chassis was missing it, so that's what that is. Another hard piece to find was a slipper Illuminator kit. Because the age of that unit, nobody was making parts for Short Course 10. So this is a Exotech, or EOTech, however you pronounce it. Short Course 10. It's actually, I believe that was a B4. It's a B4 slipper Illuminator that uses Kimbrough Spur Gears. So I purchased a 90 and a 93 tooth spur gear to attach to this, and that's going to give me some adjustability with my spur gears, because again, I don't know what gears I need. I believe Kurt was either going to run 8th mile or 100 foot. I don't really know for sure. 132 feet is a quarter mile, and if he goes 8th mile, then I want more gear to get out of the hole, obviously, because you want to be able to get out of the hole, and that's all about drag racing. So that's why I wanted some more flexibility for gearing options, and the slipper Illuminator is going to be huge on getting out of the hole instead of relying on your slipper. And then the next step is spur gears. Well, what spur do you get? Or sorry, pinions. I have no clue. I'm just winging it. I don't have any really small ones, so I went with a 14 and a 16 tooth pinion for now. Again, cheap parts. By the way, that was like $15. Let's talk about fluids for a second. So it has a gear diff in the back end, and you want pretty much as thick as you can get for gear differential fluids. So this is TLR, and they're probably the only ones that make, actually, I think they are the only ones that make 125,000 for your gear. This is so thick it's not even funny, but you want it to basically be locked up to get you the most power to the ground, but you still want it to have a little bit of that limited slip. That's why 125,000 is exactly what you're looking for. And then rear shock fluids. You want extremely thick, but you don't want it too thick. It's kind of that fine line of figuring out where to go. I was advised to start with 70 weight and kind of adjust accordingly on what your car is doing. I don't believe you run 70 on the front and the rear. I believe you run 30 in the front and you run 70 in the rear. So I needed some 70 weight, so TLR part. So TLR 74015. Unfortunately, it killed me to buy those two because they're TLR parts. Whatever. What else we got? Servo spacers. Whatever. Don't need to really go into detail on that. Some M3 drill bits and tap and die set. This is to drill that aluminum housing for the rear A-arms. Now let's talk about tires and wheels. And this subject on its own is probably one of the hardest decisions to make, but also the easiest. I started off by buying a set of ProLine ProMana Drag Spec 2.2 front and rears. So these are designed for slashes and DR10s. Fine and dandy. I think they look good. They would have been fine. Problem is I cannot find a set of short course truck slicks in stock that'll fit this. But anywhere. COVID-19 in general has been a whole problem on its own. We all know that. So trying to find some slicks in stock. You all know me. I am a huge Raw Speed fan. I've been trying to get Raw Speeds for probably 2.5 months. And every time I look, it's always out of stock. So this wheel is going to be set aside for the time being. And then same thing with the fronts. These are the fronts that I did purchase. I'm just going to glue on a set of regular fronts for now. ProLine makes a drag specific. I'm probably just going to take a set of worn downs and glue them on here and try to make my own grooves in them. And I'm just going to go around the circumference and probably do 3 grooves. That's kind of something I want to try. So that's what that's about. So for the time being, kind of an odd setup, but y'all know that I do run DE wheels quite frequently. My green wheels that I've been running are DE. So I was able to find in stock mini Street Outlaws. And there's a reason on why I went this route. And it comes down to weight. So if I'm going to run a spec class that is going to require everybody to run the same ESC and the same motor, or close to, we're just going to say 13.5. Now the trick of trying to get the most speed out of your vehicle is going to be traction and drive weight and drive drag. Drive drag and weight I'm just going to put into the same category. So if I take a set of these and put them next to a set of full-size primes from ProLine, I guarantee this is going to be a lot less weight than trying to turn a pair of these. Because there's a lot less rubber, a lot less plastic that's involved. Common sense. So let's open up one of these and I will show you what I am talking about. So with the plastic in general, comparably speaking, is a little bit smaller, but you notice the inside is a lot smaller. And that's the difference from these wheels. So more plastic, obviously it's going to weigh more. And then the same thing with the rubber. So with your rubber, and I understand you want a wider surface path for these tires, but you're not talking a huge difference in width. There's enough, yes, I agree, it will matter, but I believe a 13.5 with this width versus that width, I believe a 13.5 will be able to turn this tire a lot better than the weight of this tire. I could be wrong, I don't know, never tried it, it's something I want to learn. And we'll go from there. So these are the D40s, which are softs, and they are mini Street Outlaw tires. Pretty simple. $25. So tires and wheels, I'm not going to put in the category because if I bought a DR10, I would be replacing the crap ones that they came with something like this anyway. Body, I could have ran their version of a body, but nobody wants to run the same body. Oh, sorry. Before I go on with that subject. The next thing is to foam or not to foam. That is the $1 million question. everybody has their preference on if they want to run foams in their tires or not to run foams. That, I can't answer that question. I want to try tire bands. So there are a gentleman out there that is selling these for $40 a pair. I won't say names. I'm sure you already know who it is if you are anywhere remotely in the scene of no prep drag racing. But a local gentleman has a 3D printer and offered $5 for a set. So I went ahead and picked up 2. I need to contact him about these because I said minis and he sent me Phenoms and Street Outlaws instead of the minis. So I guess that was a miscommunication. Whatever, no big deal. I'm gonna see if he can print me a set of these for this tire. So I want to run tire bands instead of this. It basically takes your soft tire and it acts like a steel belted tire. So you get supposedly a better contact wear all the way across your tire, but yet you still get the softness of having no foam versus foam. I hope that makes sense. Next step. Other than that, so like I said, tires, I'm not going to include the pricing for tires and wheels because that to me is a consumable. That's what I'm going to call wearables. The body, you can say if you want to include the price of that. The problem is if I spent the $200 on the DR10 for just the chassis with no electronics, it does not come with the body either. Bodies, I went with a Shark RC body. Now this is kind of a monster, honestly, so getting this in frame is going to be an issue, but it is a Ford Mustang 8th scale short course truck drag body. And then their decal kit, and this has their extreme wing and their regular wing in this package. And I didn't know which wing was going to be allowed, so I didn't want to commit to one and not have the other one. And then again, this was bought before the 13.5 class came out. Now it has very specific rules on wings, on heights, and basically all dimensions. So I'm gonna have to trim up probably the stock wing to make this fit the rules in the class specifically for the street stock. So that's it for parts. I hope you guys followed along with that. The next time you see this car, this short course truck will be fully built, besides probably tires and wheels. I'm going to have all electronics in it, radio, speed controller, everything that I can think of. I'm not going to bore you guys with the build, the physical build process, but I wanted to bring you all along with the parts that was purchased and why I'm going this route. To me, it's like I said, it's more of a challenge. I'm going to get more fun out of it, and we're going to go from there. So with that, let me know down low in the comments if there's something you guys would have liked to have seen, parts-wise, or in general, if you want me to buy a different body or whatever, or if you think I'm doing the right thing. So I'd like to hear from you all on what your opinions is of the new street stock 13.5 no prep drag car. Thanks guys for watching, and have a wonderful and fantastic day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate all of you guys. I think we're up to 270 subscribers-ish, somewhere around there, and I appreciate every single one of y'all, and I enjoy the interactions that we have and some chats, and we're going to keep this rolling. So hopefully you all like the new build series that we got, and I've got some back-end stuff that I'm going to have a little bit of a surprise video for you that I think you're all going to like with trying to organize some no prep drag racing. So again, we're going to wrap this video up. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful and fantastic day.